The other thing about NIL that bubbled up last week, because the whole NIL dynamic,
it's getting interesting.
College football is now dealing with, because for years college football had a corrupt system that violated the federal antitrust laws. The legislative branch spoke more than 130 years ago with the antitrust legislation. The judicial branch has spoken more recently, now that somebody's finally realized, hey, all these NCAA rules are really antitrust violations because it's a bunch of independent businesses coming together and hiding under the NCAA umbrella to make these rules that fix the price of their workforce. Now that it's happening, chaos has ensued. Enter the executive branch with the nudging of Nick Saban, who frankly quit because he could no longer compete in today's marketplace. I know there's a more high-minded way to put it. The way I see it, he quit because he couldn't compete anymore. More importantly, he couldn't stack the deck in his favor the way that he used to, and he saw which way the wind was blowing, and I'm going to get out of Dodge before I finish fifth in the SEC. So now that that's all happening, college football is like, please save us from the mess we've created. President's considering an executive order that would in some way limit NIL, and
each and every time he issues an illegal executive order, I am going to stand up to him because he represents to me sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity.
A coalition of Democratic states is suing the Trump administration over HHS cuts. The lawsuit, led by New York Attorney General Letitia James, alleges the administration gutted the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The suit claims a restructuring effort eliminated 10,000 jobs at consolidated agencies. Plaintiffs argue this constitutes an unconstitutional dismantling of the federal health system. James stated the administration is sabotaging the government, not streamlining it. The lawsuit alleges the FDA was unable to process a vaccine application due to the changes. A bird flu testing program was also canceled, potentially suspended for the rest of 2025. The states argue the administration's actions threaten programs and lives. The lawsuit accuses the restructuring of disproportionately affecting agencies like the CDC and FDA. The Attorney General claims the changes had severe and potentially irreversible consequences. The legal challenge sets up a major clash over the future of federal public health infrastructure.
Trump just triggered an $8 trillion shift, and if you move fast, it could completely transform your financial future. But here's the crazy thing. Almost nobody realizes what's going on, and they're going to miss the single biggest wealth-building opportunity of this decade.
We have more money being spent than at any time in the history of our country. We're up to close to $8 trillion, I think I can say.
You just heard it straight from the president himself. $8 trillion. This isn't speculation. This isn't hype. This is happening right now. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what's happening, why billionaires are quietly betting really big, and how you can easily front run this massive wave, even if you're starting really small.
We on now. They respect us cause we on now. Money up, run the whole time, don't we? This our money can't slow down. Money won't slow down. Why they party? I'm in here grinding. Money I'm stacking. Why they rock diamonds? I can't relate to them, ain't my chick calming. I set a goal for me 2 or 3 commas. 7 figures, 8 figures to 9 figures. On a slow pace to get rich quick. Same time we just think different. Cause when you make it, it hit different.
What it do, y'all? It's your partner Dale back in the saddle again for another edition of the Accountable Podcast. On Thursday, I began a little bit late today, guys. I was talking to the bride about some stuff that I had to handle. If you could, guys, do me a favor if you can, share, like, and subscribe. Click on that little bell there for me, so that whenever I go live, no matter what platform you're on, you get to see your partner. But let's dive into this thing real quickly, guys. I'm gonna get in, I'm gonna get out today. All right, guys. Here's today's topics today, guys. As you saw on the introduction video. Number one, we're going to talk about Trump is considering an NIL executive order. That means name, image, and likeness. This is for college sports. After talking to Nick Saban, we're going to talk about that. Number two, we're going to talk about the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, is suing the Trump administration, really the Health and Human Services, This is after the FBI is going after her. Number 3, Trump triggered an $8 trillion economic shift. Wow. And you're going to be alarmed at what's been done. And also, this is going to be mixed into a little bit of how crypto could drive down mortgage rates for those buyers, guys. It's going to be today's topics, guys. But let's dive into the first one, guys. All right. Here we go. Trump is considering an executive order on NIL, name, image, and likeness. This one kind of shocked me because this was after he spoke to, I believe, the greatest college football coach in the history of mankind, Nick Saban. He spoke with him about this, and Saban has been very vocal while he was coaching and post-coaching about he's not liking the NIL. Let's dive into it real quickly, and then we're going to see an actual college football former player that you may know talk about what he really believes why Nick is really bringing this up. Let's dive in this real quickly, guys. This one really kind of shocked me, and I'll give you my thoughts once we get done with it. Here we go. Let's dive into this now. Here we go.
After a conversation with Nick Saban on Thursday, May 1st, Donald Trump is seriously considering entering the NIL space and drafting an executive order that would act as law to help the power conferences and the NCAA expedite the settlement and perhaps do something to rein in what is a wild west of name, image, and likeness. Let's talk about what happened, what he could actually do. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching the #1 college football show, welcome. Thank you for joining us here. We talk college football. We talk football year round. So if you're into that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Would you like to see President Trump enter the NIL space and do something about this? And I dare say that there are a large number of people across the aisle that would like to see some form of system in place to stop what feels like to many rampant part of our industry. Name, image, and likeness has become, for some, pay for play. What used to be just a baked in part of the process, you don't pay players, is no longer part of that. It's baked back in as you got to pay to play.
Well, hold on 1 second. I play college basketball, guys, and I know a lot of people that play college basketball during my time frame. We play for free. Yes, some former fashion folks got scholarships. I did not. I played at a Division III school, but still I played. And we played for free. Also Division I, Division II. I don't know if you guys saw the Fab Five documentary on Netflix. Phenomenal documentary. Go look at it with the Fab Five from Michigan. And those gentlemen were generating millions of dollars for Michigan. And they got $0. Michigan was literally selling socks, cologne, shirts, their names, jerseys, right? Which is called name, image, and likeness. None of the Fab Five, even though they generated millions upon millions of dollars to the University of Michigan, got anything. Got nothing. Let's keep going.
Now, you have lots of coaches and lots of boosters that will tell you, look, we're only paying people that are coming to our universities, and really, you're not going to make as much with us if you haven't been here the whole time and if you haven't been contributing the whole time. You know, that thing about working and doing good work. But I think this is interesting mostly because Trump's considering an executive order that would address the athlete payments after talking to Nick Saban. And while there are lots of opinions about President Trump and his administration in college football, we have the same opinion of Nick Saban. Greatest college football coach of all time.
Correct.
And he's become a really good TV personality.
Yes.
And he, generally speaking, has a mood and a way for getting his point across because he's one of the best recruiters in all of football.
Yes.
So you've got the greatest college football coach and closer of deals talking to a dude that makes deals.
Sure.
I thought that taking on the wisdom that Saban would provide has always been helpful to anybody, really.
Sure.
If he's dispensing it, you're listening to it. Are you going to operate with it? That's up to you, man. But I have yet to come across someone who did not feel like Nick Saban was enriching their life in one way or another. That said, he is a football coach, and he was recruiting. And there are guys that he wanted that he didn't get, and there are players that he did get that he wanted to bench. I think for him.
Now let's stop right there. Let's bring in another point of view because he's giving a great commentary. Phenomenal work, brother. Love what you're doing there. What he's doing is he's talking about Nick Saban. I think Nick Saban is the greatest college football coach of all time. The question is because he would recruit. Alabama was damn near in an NFL football team. They dominate when he was actually coaching. It wasn't until NIL became the norm. That's when you begin to see the stature of Nick Saban as being the greatest or the best recruiter in the nation begin to feather a little bit, begin to go down a little bit. Could it be because they even the playing field? I'm glad you actually asked that question because that's what I thought as well. Let's go to another football show real quickly here, and you're going to most likely remember one of the quarterbacks here. One is a journalist and one is a quarterback. And let's hear their take on this real quickly concerning this NIL deal and specifically around Nick Saban. Here we go.
The other thing about NIL that bubbled up last week, because the whole NIL dynamic,
it's getting interesting.
College football is now dealing with, because for years college football had a corrupt system that violated the federal antitrust laws. The legislative branch spoke more than 130 years ago with the antitrust legislation. The judicial branch has spoken more recently now that somebody's finally realized, hey, all these NCAA rules are really antitrust violations because it's a bunch of independent businesses coming together and hiding under the NCAA umbrella to make these rules that fix the price of their workforce. Now that it's happening, chaos has ensued. Enter the executive branch with the nudging of Nick Saban, who frankly quit because he could no longer compete in today's marketplace. I know there's a more high-minded way to...
So this gentleman is saying the reason why Nick Saban quit is because the name, image, and likeness that is now the norm of college football, really college as a whole, even the playing field for other coaches. And I gotta say he's kind of right because you begin to see the emergence of Kirby Smart from Georgia, Deion Sanders from University of Colorado. Who else? Dabo Swinney was always good. Let's see who else. Ohio State, their coaching staff. Michigan, their coaching staff. University of Texas, their coaching staff. Texas A&M, right? SMU in Dallas, their coaching staff. They're killing it. SMU is. Who else? One more. I'm missing one. TCU benefit from NIL, name, image, and likeness. Texas Tech. You can go all Florida, University of Florida. On the basketball side, University of Florida, they won that championship. So I'm a big proponent of the name, image, and likeness because I believe that as a former college basketball player, going to school and playing basketball or college sports, man, that's hard to do. And a lot of the times we were broke. We didn't have any money in college. And so you're putting your body on the line. You're getting hurt as well. A lot of times when you came out of the hood, I didn't come from the hood. When you came out of the hood, basketball was your way out of the hood. And so this name, image, and likeness actually kind of catapulted a lot of college football or basketball or athletes on the women and men's side that they can be able to take care of their families. So I like name, image, and likeness. I agree with what they're saying concerning Nick Saban. Now, he's a wise man. I got to give it to him. But he's against NIL. I disagree. I'm for it. Now, could you put a little bit more parameters around it? Yes, you could. But I give you an example. The name, image, and likeness, right? How's it been beneficial to, let's say, a school in Dallas called SMU, Southern Methodist University. They played in the college football playoff last year. They were able to leave. I think they're part of either the American Conference and go to the ACC, where Duke and North Carolina play in, right? And for the first, I believe, 3 years, they're getting nothing of the TV rights, nothing at all. SMU said, we're fine with that. These guys raised $100 million in 7 days just for joining the ACC. That put them on the map. It's all because of name, image, and likeness. They also are paying a stipend to their college players. That changes a college player's lifestyle. That changes the college player's family's lifestyle. They're able to go out and sign endorsement deals, right? Because they're playing. A good athlete should be able to monetize, right, their potential. So for me, I like the name, image, and likeness play. Now, should Donald Trump get involved with that? I would say no. I think that that's a little bit of government overreach. Let the NCAA figure this thing out. Let them figure it out. It's a private business. Now, don't get it twisted. These schools are receiving federal funds. They are. So I got to be kind of a balance there. They are. But at the exact same time, I believe that name, image, and likeness, in my opinion, is great for college football, college basketball, any college sports period, right? So I like it a lot. I like it, but you can always tweak it here and there. But I do agree with this gentleman here about Nick Saban maybe quitting because of the NIL. That may be the case because Nick has been a vocal person. He does not like NIL at all. But let's keep going, guys. Keep going.
To put it, the way I see it, he quit because he couldn't compete anymore. More importantly, he couldn't stack the deck in his favor the way that he used to, and he saw which way the wind was blowing, and I'm going to get out of Dodge before I finish 5th in the SEC. So now that that's all happening, college football is like, please save us from the mess we've created. Mm-hmm. President's considering an executive order that would in some way limit NIL, and why? I don't think they're going to do anything. I think he was just placating Saban with that comment.
All right.
The Wall Street Journal had the report. But, Chris, hey, if they do it, I want to see how they're going to restrict the pay that goes to CEOs. Are they going to restrict what actors and musicians make? Are they going to restrict how much money you can make off of stock trades?
Wow.
Because what the hell? At the end of the day, it's a capitalist society. It's free enterprise. How in the world are you going to restrict what these kids can make for their skills, abilities, and sacrifices playing college football?
Agreed. Listen, in a bigger scale of thing, yeah, there's a little too much of the executive branch, in my opinion, right now. I don't know, making things hard on the little man or the everyday common man. I don't like that. And this would fall into that as well. Like, whoa, wait, oh, yeah, I don't know. They don't know if they deserve it, coming from, somebody who made money.
Okay.
Okay, either way.
We'll be fine.
No, but I don't. I'm just trying to say I don't love that. I don't love also within that. Yes, I believe, right? Nick Saban, you heard me say this off air a little bit. Yeah, I think there's teams, and you heard me say this at the end of the college year because I had people telling me this all throughout the business. Some of the college powers to be who have been awesome are scared right now. Yeah, they're scared because the scales have tipped. Texas is about to spend $40 million on their team this year.
Yep.
40. And they're going to make a whole lot more of that at Texas football. So they don't give a damn. And we made a big deal last year about Ohio State spending 20. Texas is going to double it a year later. And where I think Nick Saban gets into the ear, whether it's just because he thinks so or he's doing it for Alabama because they don't have that type of money to compete, or other SEC teams, I don't know. But either way, yeah, the way it is right now, and I don't know how you change things like you talked about with all the stuff that's around it, but Texas, no one's going to have more money than them. Notre Dame, nobody's going to have more money than them. You're going to see Notre Dame, Texas, Ohio State, and Michigan kind of control the landscape here until if there is a salary cap done or anything like that. But I find that hard to believe because of the things you just talked about there.
So again, we ended right there with them, guys. So again, I believe that it's an overreach. The executive branch should not get involved with name, image, and likeness. That is a college sports thing. Let them figure it out. It's free enterprise. If a school wants to pay $20 or $40 million to buy a team, let them do it. Let them do it. And if other schools that may be smaller, may not be able to compete, you may want to work on your donor base. Just keep it at 1,000 with you. Just keep it 100 with you. I think it's a bad move for Trump to even consider this. It's a bad move. Terrible move for him to do this. So President Trump, stay out NIL. I understand that Nick Saban is your partner, is your boy, greatest coach of all time. I got it. No problem, no worries. But please stay out of NIL. Let the colleges iron this out. All right, guys. That was cool. Now, let's go to the next topic, guys, real quickly. Now, the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, guys, she is suing. She filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration concerning something that's going on with the Health and Human Services, HHS, guys. Let's see what's going on with this, guys, and see what she's looking to do and why she's suing. And we're going to bring in a legal eagle to talk about what's really going on. All right. All right, here we go. Let's dive into this real quickly. Here we go. 1 second. I got you. There it is. There we go. Here we go.
Each and every time he issues an illegal executive order, I am going to stand up to him because he represents to me sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity.
Wow.
A coalition of Democratic states is suing the Trump administration over HHS cuts. The lawsuit, led by New York Attorney General Letitia James, alleges the administration gutted the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The suit claims a restructuring effort eliminated 10,000 jobs at consolidated agencies. Plaintiffs argue this constitutes an unconstitutional dismantling of the federal health system. James stated the administration is sabotaging the government, not streamlining it. The lawsuit alleges the FDA was unable to process a vaccine application due to the changes. A bird flu testing program was also canceled, potentially suspended for the rest of 2025. The states argue the administration's actions threaten programs and lives. The lawsuit accuses the restructuring of disproportionately affecting agencies like the CDC and FDA. The Attorney General claims the changes had severe and potentially irreversible consequences. The legal challenge sets up a major clash over the future of federal public health infrastructure.
So again, what she's saying is that the Trump administration, the HHS, has cut off some federal funding. Let's bring on another perspective, guys, to get a little bit more of a perspective on really what's going on. All right, let's bring in I got Jonathan Turley, constitutional attorney, and let's go a little bit deeper in this. Here we go.
Listen to this. New York Attorney General Letitia James is now announcing a lawsuit against the Trump administration's Health and Human Services Department over proposed healthcare funding cuts. So let's bring in Jonathan Turley, constitutional law attorney and Fox News contributor. Jonathan, good to have you here. Of course, this comes just weeks after the DOJ announced that they are actually investigating some allegations of mortgage fraud against Letitia James. She calls that revenge, but the timing of all of this seems a little suspect.
Well, it is par for the course. You know, James has always used her office to target opponents, whether it's Trump or the NRA. She's very selective and she's very open in politicizing that office. And this is the latest of a series of lawsuits by Democratic leaders around the country. And the problem for the Trump administration is they file before favorable courts in blue states, and they're getting these national injunctions. And it's gotten to the point of being absolutely absurd. It means that a president cannot govern unless you can basically run the course with 677 district court judges, any one of which can issue a national injunction. So you've got to win every case 677-0 if you actually want to implement policy. Well, the justices have said, including liberal justices like Justice Kagan, that this is truly insane. And this is just the latest such lawsuit to try to limit what this president can do.
Well, let's talk about how slow.
So what Jonathan is saying is he's saying that this lawsuit kind of fits what's been done, I think, 200 times under the Trump administration, how liberal judges and also attorney generals that are in liberal places have filed, and also external organizations have filed lawsuits to slow down the executive function of the president. And he's saying this is absurd, because how can a judicial branch, which is a co-equal branch of government when it comes to the executive branch, which is the president is the executive branch. The judicial branch cannot come into the executive branch and tell the executive branch how to run the executive branch. If executive branch is using the existing powers of the executive branch, that cannot happen. And what he's saying is this is what's happening. So this lawsuit that the New York Attorney General Letitia James is filing, she's filing it and trying to slow roll or challenge an executive branch power. And unfortunately, the judicial branch and a state attorney general has no authority to tell the executive branch what it can and cannot do, because it's not a part of the executive branch. The only time the Supreme Court can come in to say something about this is if the executive branch is violating a law. That's it. That is it. So again, this seems to be the strategy is to file these lawsuits to slow down the executive branch, which that action is violating the Constitution. Because if the executive branch is operating in its executive authorities, there's nothing that the judicial branch, the legislative branch, the governor, AG, a county judge, anybody can do to be able to stop the executive branch. It's very simple. It's not hard to do, guys. Not hard at all. I think that Jonathan Turley is spot on. He is spot on this one. Let's keep it going. Let's go.
How much this could slow the administration down, because now she's calling up all of these AGs in blue states and asking them to join her on this lawsuit against HHS. I'm not sure who's going to want to jump in on that when she's under investigation herself. But how tangled up can this get for this administration when, like you said, I mean, they're literally facing injunctions and legal action, I mean, across the board?
Well, people need to think about the implications of what is happening. It means that you can be elected as a president, but effectively the presidency is going to be run at the discretion of district court judges issuing national or universal injunctions. That's not really how this is supposed to work. And the constitutional basis for these orders are extremely dubious. Some of these orders I find to be overtly unconstitutional, but they have to work their way through the system. And the way what these Democrats know is that in the usual course of things, they don't leave a president his third year before he can actually start to implement policy. And that's what's so insane about this. Now, on May 15th, the Supreme Court's going to look at national injunctions. And many of us are hoping that Chief Justice Roberts and the court will finally bring some semblance of order to all of this and deter these district court judges. Because we have a system that's run on people being able to vote in presidents to effectuate change, including looking for waste and in this case, downsizing government. We've got to get back to that. And so that argument on the 15th is enormously important.
Jonathan, I want to get your take on this one more thing before we go here. The Minneapolis.
So again, I agree 100% with Jonathan Turley. He is spot on. Another branch that's co-equal to the executive branch cannot tell the executive branch how to run the executive branch if the executive branch is operating with its executive authority. Cannot at all. Cannot. Okay. This is really simple to understand. All right. Now, let's go to the third one, guys. Again, you got to understand that the executive branch is the president himself. He is the executive branch. Period. And the executive can dictate how the executive branch is run because he is the branch itself. He is. Very simple. All right, guys. Now let's dive into this third one, guys. This has been really good. Now, did Trump trigger an $8 trillion economic shift? This right here kind of got me thinking a little bit. It fits within that tariff play that I talk about a lot of the times. But what he's done on some of these companies investing capital into America is amazing. But let's dive into it real fast. Let's see what Mark is talking about. We're gonna bring in a guy, Mark Moss, real quickly. He's gonna tell us what actually happened real fast. Let me get to it real quickly here, guys. I love Mark Moss's information. Let's dive into him real fast. Let's see exactly what is going on and see what did Trump do. Let's dive into this real fast. Here we go. Come on, there we go.
Trump just triggered an $8 trillion shift. And if you move fast, it could completely transform your financial future. But here's the crazy thing. Almost nobody realizes what's going on.
Wow.
And they're going to miss the single biggest wealth building opportunity of this decade.
We have more money being spent than at any time in the history of our country. We're up to close to $8 trillion, I think I can say.
You just heard it straight from the president himself. $8 trillion. This isn't speculation. This isn't hype. This is happening right now. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what's happening, why billionaires are quietly betting really big, and how you can easily front run this massive wave, even if you're starting really small. My name is Mark Moss. I've built multiple 7- and 8-figure businesses and investments by tracking macroeconomic shifts exactly like this one. So let's go. All right, now we're talking really big numbers here, but most people don't see through the surface level. They don't see through the first order, second order, to the third, to the fourth order and what this means, but don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you. Not the news headlines, you can read those on your own, but what does it mean? And more importantly, how can we use this to our advantage? Okay, so you've seen this, the $8 trillion bombshell. What I'm talking about is Trump is talking about the massive amount of investments that's coming into the United States. Apple, $500 billion, NVIDIA, $500 billion. This is commitments of Apple from NVIDIA, et cetera, to start building in the United States, building new warehouses, building new factories. SoftBank, 200, TSMC, microchips, 165 billion, J&J, 55 billion, Hyundai, 21 billion, lots and lots of money. But where does the money go? You hear this.
So this $8 trillion he's talking about is external investment from companies to invest in the U.S. That's $8 trillion. And he gave a few of those companies. Let's keep going. Here we go.
Number, 500 billion, 500 billion, 22 billion. As a matter of fact, we were watching this last night as Trump's President Trump's announcement, and my daughter was like, man, those are really big numbers. She was blown away hearing these billions of numbers. Yes, it is a big number. Mm-hmm. Where does the money go? That's why we have to think in second, third, fourth, fifth order effects. We'll break it down. But that's another reason why, if you watched my other video breaking a bunch of tariff myths, we talked about tariffs actually go to the manufacturers, the importers, maybe a little bit to the consumers, most of it not there because the consumer can't afford it. So it goes to the manufacturers. How? Well, they have to build new factories. This money is going to go into their price. Okay, that is the $8 trillion bombshell. And while everyone's focusing on the tariffs and all the doom, oh, Trump's going to ruin the economy and the countries are going to bypass the U.S. and no one's going to send here and on and on and on, we are positioning. We see the data, we look past the headlines, and we're already taking position. And I'm going to show you how big positions are already being taken while you're already a little bit late. We're going to catch you up. Okay, the hidden shift. The hidden shift is that there is a plan. I call it Maya. Make America investable again. And there's a lot of stuff that's been done in the first 100 days. Lots of executive orders that have gone into place. We've covered it in another video talking about the Mar-a-Lago Accords. We'll link to that Mar-a-Lago Accords video down below if you want to understand this whole Make America Investable Again thesis. But like I said, there's already a wealth transfer happening. Now think about this. $8 trillion in commitments just in the first 100 days. Like, we'll see what happens over the next couple months, couple quarters. 22% plus, positive 2% gross domestic investment. So we're talking $8 trillion is about 20% of the entire gross domestic product, the GDP of the United States, a 22% increase. Are you kidding me? Typically, we're seeing single-digit increases. We're talking about a 22% increase and then in a single quarter. This is all happening in a single quarter. Wow. Now, like I said, all this money has to go somewhere.
Yes.
It's going to go to lots of places. It can go into your pocket. Like, for example, what we're already seeing being front-run, billionaires are front-running this is, well, let's think about this. So Apple, TSMC, they're going to come in, they're going to do their manufacturing here. So what are they going to need? Well, they're going to need buildings.
Yeah.
They're going to need warehouses. They're going to need office spaces, right? That would be the first thing. Well, let's set up an office so we can start building out our manufacturing place. So what do you think is already happening?
Yeah.
We can see warehouse vacancies in 30 key states of the United States, more than half, are at 25-year lows. Now, all you see is doom and gloom on the news about, oh, don't you know, Mark, that commercial real estate's about to explode, and don't you know that all these banks are upside down in them? Okay, so first of all, commercial real estate's a really big category. So certainly like high-rise office space in San Francisco has been hit really hard. But when we're talking about manufacturing facilities, we're talking about warehouses, it's a whole different story. What we can see, industrial vacancy rate increases are at basically an all-time low, 25-year low. Look at this. Look at where this level is compared to where we were back in 2010 to 2012. Really, really low. Look at the data, not the headlines. Now the question you might be asking, the hidden shift is, well, where does all this money and where do we play it? And so you might be thinking, well, I should probably buy stocks. I should probably think about the companies, I guess Apple, they're going to be building a bunch here, or Hyundai or TSMC. And I try to pick winners in that. But here's the thing. We have a historical analogy that breaks this down for us. Think about the gold rush. In the gold rush, it wasn't the miners that went digging for the gold that made all the money. You've heard this before. It was the people that sold the picks and shovels. But let's think even one level past that, if we want to make a lot of money anyway. The next level is who controlled the infrastructure. So digging for gold.
I want you guys to understand what he's talking about. The $8 trillion shift he's talking about is concerning infrastructure, and it's not government. And it's not government investing money, basically printing more money. What it is companies, and he listed a number of them, and showed you a chart as well, also of companies investing. They're making investments. What are they investing in? Infrastructure. Why? Because they want to be manufacturing back to the U.S. So this is a manufacturing shift. It's going to be a different type of manufacturing, not the 1920, 30, 40 manufacturing. This is the 2025 and beyond. So it's a more high tech type of manufacturing. Look at the companies that were investing in this: NVIDIA, Apple, other companies. Well, these are technology companies, SoftBank, technology companies, and banks that are investigate for infrastructure. So the money has to go to infrastructure to rebuild the infrastructure. This is the reason why Trump is going so hard in the bank when it comes to these trade deals, is because he understands that if he can get the trade agreements correct, right, and make it easier for the manufacturers to be able to manufacture things here at a lower cost, right, he brings in more investment. If he can also lower the tax burden and regulations, which he's doing now, guys, it is making America investable. Again, it becomes the most attractive environment to invest capital in. And money loves value. That's what he's doing. And this is a pretty big shift, what he's talking about. I like it a lot, what he's talking about. Let's keep it going real quick because Marcus is finna go on his back a little bit and then we'll be done.
Gold, sure. Buying buckets and shovels, jeans, sure. But who controls the infrastructure? And that is the role that the United States is in right now, come to the country. But it's also a role that you and I can play with our investments if we want to have like a heads you win, tails you win scenario. So what am I talking about? Well, like I said, the billionaires are already front running this, okay? I showed you the vacancy rates on these types of buildings that they're going to be going after specifically. Why is that? Well, they understand that there's limited amount of buildings available today. More will be built, but limited today. We have this massive rush coming in, economics 101, supply and demand, right? So that's exactly what's happening. But what is their plan? Well, they're doing something, what I call the depreciation accelerator. This is how the billionaires make 2, 3, 4, even 500% more on their money without spending an extra dollar. But you don't have to be a billionaire. I'm going to show you how you can do it no matter what your portfolio size is. But it's all based off of something I call the depreciation accelerator. Now, to really understand this, it's using different types of assets. In this example, we're going to use real estate. You can use it to some other assets. Real estate and what I call tax engineering. And again, we get a double win. Let me break it down for you first by showing you another clip of President Trump talking about this. Let's just cut to the clip.
But our big, beautiful bill, as I call it, include 100% expensing retroactive to January 20th. So expensing 1 year, you take a deduction 1 year so you can build your factories right now. essentially almost tax-free if you're going to make that expensing for a 4-year period at a full 100%.
Okay, so you heard from the president himself right there.
So again, the language the president's using when it comes to basically removing tax liabilities or burdens from companies is making the environment in America more investable. So that's the reason why you have an $8 trillion type of economic shift here, because bank companies are investing in good environments. And I believe what Trump is doing, it is making America more investable, the best investable environment on the planet. That's what he's doing. I see the shift. This is the reason why the billionaires are front running this. They see what's going on. They see it. They see it. So it's forget about Trump being bad. It's, if you look at the economic policy, what he's talking about, it makes sense. Makes a ton of sense. Guys, if you're not following Mark Moss, follow him, guys. He's one of the wisest financial guys that I've never met, but I've learned a lot from him, and I'm gonna meet him one day. I really am, and to tell him thank you, guys. But at the exact same time, that's what this is now. Lastly, guys, real quickly here, I'll get rid of Mark real quickly. When it comes to how can crypto drive down mortgage rates, again, I gotta say this. I gotta say this because of the fact that Trump is trying to mimic the Federal Reserve monetary structure. The Federal Reserve, what they typically do when it comes to infusing capital into the economy, what they do is they create an IOU. Matter of fact, let me just do this real quickly, guys, so I can see. Give me a second, because I think that if I show you it, it'll make more sense. So this is off the cuff. Give me a second. Mike Maloney. There we go. Give me 1 second, and I'm going to bring up him talking about this real quickly, guys. Give me 1 second here. There it is. Okay, give me a second. Okay, here we go. All right. This is how our monetary system works. Okay, let me bring in Mike Maloney real quickly, and then I can be able to better explain to you guys what Trump is actually doing concerning cryptocurrency. Here we go. Let's just dive in this real quickly. Here we go. Bring him on real quickly, guys. This is off the cuff. Here we go. Let's get it in. This is how money is created within our system. Here we go.
Let's do a recap and break it down even more. The way the system works is that step 1, the government creates glorified IOUs.
Mm-hmm.
These bonds increase our national debt and put the public on the hook to pay it back. Mm-hmm. Step 2, IOUs are swapped to create currency. The Treasury sells the bonds to the banks. The banks then turn around and sell our national debt at a profit to the Federal Reserve, which they probably own. The Federal Reserve then opens its checkbook that doesn't have a penny in it and buys those IOUs with IOUs that it writes, checks, on a checking account that has a zero balance. Then they give those checks to the banks and currency just springs into existence. And then the whole process repeats. This results in a buildup of bonds at the Federal Reserve and currency at the Treasury, which is really just a supply of numbers. The Treasury then deposits the numbers in the various branches of the government, and we get to step 3. The government spends the numbers on promises, public works, social programs, and war. Then the government employees, contractors, and soldiers deposit their pay into the banks, and we get to step 4, where the banks multiply the numbers by magically inventing more IOUs through fractional reserve lending, where they steal a portion of everyone's deposit and lend it out. That currency gets redeposited, and then a portion is stolen again. And the process repeats over and over, magnifying the currency supply exponentially. Then we work for some of those numbers, which brings us to step 5, where our numbers are taxed. We pay tax to the IRS, who then turns our numbers over to the Treasury, so the Treasury can pay the principal plus the interest on bonds that were purchased by the Federal Reserve with a check from nothing. Then we get to step 6, the debt ceiling delusion. The system is designed to require ever-increasing levels of debt, and will eventually collapse under its own weight because politicians always kick the can down the road. They don't want it to collapse on their watch. And finally, step 7. The secret owners take their cut. The world's largest banks own the Federal Reserve. Those banks make a profit selling our national debt to the Fed. They make a profit when the Fed pays them interest on the reserves held at the Fed, and the Fed pays them a 6% dividend on their ownership of the Fed. This system.
So as you guys can see, I'm gonna go back a little bit more so you guys can see it. You see how this thing works. This is our monetary system. This is how money is created, right? So this whole system is what the Federal Reserve Chairman Powell kind of uses in some form or fashion to determine if they're going to lower rates to nature because they're infusing money that way, right? There's other factors he looked at as well also. But this is how money is created. This is the Federal Reserve monetary system. That's all it is. IOUs and a check written by the Treasury back to the Federal Reserve, and money's created and it's flooded through the banks. That's all it is. Remember that real quickly. Now let's go over to Mark Moss again because of the fact that he broke this down from a cryptocurrency standpoint. Because remember, the thing here is how crypto could drive down mortgage rates. Let's look at the structure of this real quickly. Look at the structure and see if it kind of looks similar to what you just saw with the Federal Reserve. Here we go.
That's Howard Lutnick. Now, his company is Cantor Fitzgerald. So let's bring this over. As I said, this is an old school Wall Street firm. And Cantor Fitzgerald quietly announced a new Bitcoin financing business. So what they want to do is they want to provide financing or liquidity in the Bitcoin space, specifically for borrowing against your Bitcoin. So they have
So again, the whole thing is they're not creating new crypto. They are leveraging existing crypto, right? Look at this whole structure.
$2 billion fund that they've set up to finance people that want to borrow against their Bitcoin, which is great because, as I always say all the time, don't sell your Bitcoin, borrow against it. Correct. And that's exactly what they're doing. They've announced they have $2 billion of liquidity for Bitcoin, and let's go ahead and bring Bitcoin over so we have this on our game board as well. So here we have Lutnick, the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, bringing in $2 billion of new liquidity entering the system without triggering any supply-demand metrics. And then we have Bitcoin right here. So we're starting to see how this is shaping up. Now, as I said, Lutnick is in the government. Now, before he was just part of Wall Street, but now he's part of Wall Street and he's in the government and he's writing the policy in order to do this. It's a book right out of Wall Street's financial engineering playbook. By the way, Bitcoin 2025 is coming up in Las Vegas here. I'm going to be there speaking. Come hang out. I'll put a link down below if you want to save some money on tickets and come hang out with me. You never know who's going to be there. Well, I'll be there. Okay, so now here's where it starts getting interesting. Now, Cantor Fitzgerald is an old school Wall Street investment firm. They've invested into many things, like, for example, over here, a very controversial company you might have heard quite a bit about, Tether. Now, Tether is a US dollar stablecoin. It's the oldest US dollar stablecoin, and it's been rumored for years and years and years and years and years to be behind Bitcoin pumping and all of that. I've never believed any of that. That's a whole nother subject. If I'm going to make a video about that, let me know in the comments down below. But Tether is the largest US dollar stablecoin company, and they hold over 83,000 Bitcoin. Now, who owns a big piece of them? Well, that would be, of course, Cantor Fitzgerald. Here we have over here, Cantor Fitzgerald owning about 5% of Tether. So Lutnick owns Cantor Fitzgerald, the CEO. They have now launched Bitcoin products, and they also own 5% of Tether over here. Okay, so we're starting to see how this whole thing shapes out. Now, why would this legacy Wall Street firm buy into the biggest stablecoin printer in the entire world? Well, probably because they know exactly where this is headed. All right, now another big investment that Cantor Fitzgerald has made is in this company, Strategy. You might have heard of them, formerly MicroStrategy. They've gone ahead and changed their name because they're all in Bitcoin now.
Listen to
now,
this.
At this point, we know that Cantor Fitzgerald took a massive investment into Strategy. We don't know exactly how much ownership, about $1 billion just in Q4 of 2024, so very recent. So if you think Strategy is not a good play, well, you might want to go talk to Lutnick because He just put $1 billion in last quarter. He obviously understands something about strategy that we don't. So now we have Lutnick inside the U.S. government, CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, making massive investments, $1 billion investment in strategy, $600 million investment into Tether, because they know exactly what's going on. But here's where things even get more shocking. As Commerce Secretary, Lutnick is working with the Treasury and the White House economic advisors to build not one, but 2 government-level Bitcoin programs. First of all, they are building a U.S. sovereign wealth fund, of which potentially Lutnick will be in charge of. So Lutnick now will be directing the U.S. government to be investing money as part of a U.S. sovereign wealth fund. Now, what do you think that Lutnick might advise the U.S. sovereign wealth fund to buy? Well, if you're looking at this web, you might think Bitcoin, and you'd probably be right. The other plan that the government has put together is a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve. And of course, what would they be buying specifically? Well, it says it right in the name, and that would be Bitcoin as well. So now we have Lutnick, CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, making billion-dollar investments into strategy and into Tether, and as well as creating a $2 billion product around Bitcoin. At the same time, working inside the government to get the government to buy Bitcoin for both the U.S. sovereign wealth fund and a strategic Bitcoin reserve.
Now again, do you see how this kind of is similar to the Federal Reserve? And Connie, I see you, Connie, next on TikTok. I see you, baby girl. What stocks do you think it might be good? I'm not a stock guy. There's a guy by the name of the Wall Street Trapper. The Wall Street Trapper. You can find him on all platforms. He's a good go-to guy for stocks. It's the Wall Street Trapper. You'll love his content. You'll love his content. Just look him up. But you see how this is kind of similar? You see how the current Secretary of the Treasury, Howard Lutnick, is acting like the Federal Reserve Chairman. And they have 2 funds, 2 reserves. Look familiar? And how money is flowed through these entities. And the whole thing is not to originate new coins, it's to leverage existing coins. And this money is going. These coins are going to be flowed through the banks, right? Let's keep it going. We're not done.
Now, what would the goal of all this be? Well, of course, if you can get the government to make it budget neutral, meaning that they don't spend any more money from taxes, then the direct cost to the public is none. But let's be real here. That's government code for financial engineering. But what do we really get here? Well, we get a man with power in both government and finance.
Yes.
We get a $1 trillion firm issuing Bitcoin-backed leverage. We get 2 of the biggest whales in crypto standing behind it. And we have a government quietly positioning itself to become Bitcoin's biggest holder.
Correct.
Now, look, this isn't some dream. This isn't some fragmented movement. This is a Bitcoin flywheel machine, a feedback loop machine, if you will. So how does this machine actually work, besides obviously putting all these pieces together?
So he's going to go a little bit deeper there, guys. And I'll put a link most likely in the show notes of, you can go watch this entire video, go watch it. All they're doing is they're just mimicking, guys, the Federal Reserve monetary system. As you can see, the U.S. Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, is acting like the Federal Reserve Chairman, Powell, but on the crypto side. They have reserves, right? They're flowing through entities, right? And those Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies are flowing through the banks, which the bank can then leverage even more to lend out money to you. The same thing when it comes to the monetary system side, when it comes to Federal Reserve. And the government is backing crypto now 1,000%. They're normally at odds with crypto because crypto is decentralized. Now they're for it. They're for it, and they're laying the environment from a taxable standpoint to be able to, companies to be able to utilize this type of thing. What this does for you and I is it forces the banks to compete for our services, so we get better rates, better leverages, better credit cards, better loans, better rates, things like that nature. We get all of that because the banks have to compete for our business now. So now, why do I believe that crypto could drive down the mortgage rates? It's because it's just another pool or resource that banks can leverage, right, and compete for the consumer business to give out better loans and credit cards and things of that nature to businesses, consumers, anybody. That's why I believe crypto is going to be used to drive down the rates. It's going to be used to churn in a good way the economy, so that the Federal Reserve Chairman Powell could say, "Now I can see about lowering the rates." Watch. That's exactly the play. And in my opinion, I believe it's brilliant. Well, guys, that's all I have for today, guys. Thank you so much for your time, guys. Real quick, if you could do me a favor, guys, like and subscribe. So if you like this content, I hope I'll give you value. Like and subscribe. And click on the bell button as well. Also, guys, if you wanted to ask me any questions at all, guys, you're welcome. You're welcome to reach out to me on Connect, guys. That is the app for you to talk with me directly. Ask me any question that you want, and I'll answer as much as I can, guys. It's Connect. Pick my brain. If that makes some sense, guys. But that's what I have for the day, guys. If you don't mind. Also real quickly, we are giving away our free ebook, Distressed Property Investing, right here on the screen, guys. You're welcome to scan the QR code to download the free book. It's free. It's how to locate, find, and acquire a distressed property in your city, county, or state. Right there, guys. You're welcome to scan the QR code, or if you can do any of that, guys, you're welcome to DM me the word real estate, and my team will get it out to you. It's free. It didn't cost you a dime. Don't want no money from you at all. It's free. It's free, guys. It's free. All right, guys. Well, guys, thank you so much for your time. God bless you. I hope I gave you some value today, guys. Oh, I'm sorry. And lastly, every Friday, we in Cliff, we do something called Real Estate Friday Lives, guys. It is all things real estate at 5 p.m. CST, guys. Let me go and show you exactly what we talk about every single Friday. Here we go. Let's get into this thing. Let's get it.
What's good, baby? It's your boy Dale. I'm back in the saddle again. Our motto is to buy, build. We already bought it already, so we already own it, free and clear. Refinance to long-term debt, cash flow. That is the motto. Cliff, man, is that a pretty strong motto, man? What do you think?
Man, the model is strong. Like, you're getting each piece of the invest, right?
Guys, that's Real Estate Friday live every Friday at 5 p.m. CST. You'll get Cliff and I. We're talking all things real estate, guys. Come kick it with us if you don't mind, guys, and maybe learn a little something. And we can probably teach each other something as well, also, guys. But guys, that's all I have for today, guys. Thank you so much for your time. But I end it every single time. Before you leave, while you can, baby, you see that thing? Take the picture for your mama and them and holler at your partner. God bless you guys. See you next time, guys. Peace.
Long live the king.